Well, hello everyone, Texie88 here and welcome to another review. And now we're taking a look at the Sega MegaDrive version of Altered Beast, which is based on the 1988 Sega coin-op arcade game of the same name.
Live from your grave.
So, as you know, I've reviewed a version that came out on the Amstrad CPC recently, and to say that it was somewhat poor is putting it mildly.
Power up.
So you got the same punches and kicks that you have and you get these.
Power up.
My understanding is that at the time this was considered a very good port because it was pretty close to what was in the arcade original. Oh, how am I going to get that? Oh God, I couldn't get that because he was like. There's these light blue ones again. Oh my God. Oh, see, you get virtually no invulnerability when you respawn. And again, oh my. I mean, admittedly, some of these faults are going to be down to having to stay as faithful to the original arcade version as possible, but it still doesn't mean it's a particularly great game, because it's not this. I mean, I guess people are so keen to find the next great scrolling beat 'em up after the likes of Double Dragon and Final Fight that right now I've turned into the werewolf because I've collected enough power-ups. That they were just trying to come up with the next best thing, but sadly, Altered Beast just isn't it. Yes, it may be a pretty good port of the original arcade machine, but that doesn't make it a great game in its own right. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not that great either. Now look how fast that is, and compare that to that monstrosity that I reviewed on the Amstrad the other day. Oh my goodness me. And you don't get any credits in this.
Live from your grave.
But you do get that speech though. Well, you didn't get that in the Amstrad version. The machine limitations probably played a part in that. Oh God.
Power up.
Notice how when you get the power-ups there, its chest visibly powered up. Oh, goodness me. I wouldn't say that the controls in this were particularly comfortable. I mean, you've got the three MegaDrive buttons, or Sega Genesis if you're in North America. Oh, God. But I can't help feeling that a different having the buttons in a slightly different order might have been more comfortable. Maybe it's just I'm used to having the jump button in a certain place. But yeah, he's starting to shudder a bit more, I think. Oh my goodness me. And I don't like the fact you can't move while while you're fighting them. And that's round clear. And all those orbs have been taken and on to the next world. Yeah. Nice smooth scrolling. Graphics are nice for their time. Oh, goodness me. Speech samples are nice, and I mean, sometimes on the MegaDrive you get these really muddy samples, really muddy, grainy. Oh God, I clearly hit that. You get these really muddy samples that. Oh goodness. Give off. Ugh. No, I've got one life left. Not so long ago, I actually saw a video that on YouTube that said you really had to have that anyone who wasn't actually around at the time that Altered Beast first came out is judging it unfairly. But even for a game of its time, it's still not that great. I mean, yeah, it may be a scrolling beat 'em up, but there's, apart from the transformation aspect, there's just not enough to it, even for a game from 1988. Oh, for goodness sake! I mean, there are precious few combat moves, and apart from this setting and the transformation aspect, there's not really anything about Altered Beast as a game in its own right to really help separate it from the crowd. And especially as by the time the game was ported to consoles, we'd already had Final Fight and possibly even Double Dragon 2. So yeah. And it would have aged even less well once the likes of Streets of Rage came out on the MegaDrive, starting from, I believe, 1991. So while this does appear to be a pretty faithful port, that doesn't mean that it's a great game. It's not. And that's not a fault of the MegaDrive. That's more of a fault of its original source material in the arcade. As the graphics are nice, scrolling smooth. Perhaps some of the graphics are a little bit on the grainy side, but they're still pretty impressive for a MegaDrive game from its time. Sound effects are nice, and especially the speech samples. As I was saying earlier, you quite often get these muddy samples on the MegaDrive, which are somewhat unclear and a bit fuzzy, but they're really quite good in this. And I get the feeling that the werewolf howl sample that plays when you're on that screen when you transform, I can't help but feel that that's been borrowed from the film An American Werewolf in London. It does sound a lot like one or two of the werewolf howls that you hear in that. The gameplay, well, as I said, there's a bit of a lack of combat moves, and something that I also pointed out in the CPC review that I did the other day. I don't understand why they do those dainty-looking kicks. That's more, as I said, that's in that review. That's more like the kind of kick a footballer would use to shoot a penalty kick with. It doesn't look like a martial arts kick or anything like that, or even any kind of kick that looks even remotely combat-like. And there aren't really that many combat moves, and you don't really get a feeling of pain when you're defeating an enemy. And I did notice some moments of iffy hit detection as well. I mean, by and large it's okay, but there were moments where it was a bit woolly. So I think I'm going to give the Sega MegaDrive, or Sega Genesis if you're in North America, version of Altered Beast 5 out of 10. An impressive conversion, admittedly, but the game itself was never really that special if you strip it down to its bare bones. The lack of combat moves, the generally not particularly inspiring gameplay, and the iffy hit detection and so forth. It's not really a game that you're going to come back to frequently, and I don't really consider it to be a classic. It may have been a bit different for a game of its time within its genre, but different doesn't always mean great, and it certainly doesn't here. It's not awful, it's just not great. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that review. Catch you on another video soon. Techty88 out.